All right, welcome to week number who knows what grammar review. This week's grammar review is brought to you by Edgar Allan Poe, who loved very long sentences and sometimes used the wrong punctuation. So, the inspiration for this week's grammar review actually came from the grammar notebook that several of you completed. And this week's grammar rule is all about rule number 8. The reason that this was brought, I guess, to the forefront of my attention is that I continue to see incorrect examples of rule number 8, which says use a semicolon before a conjunctive adverb and a comma after the conjunctive adverb when the conjunctive adverb is joining two independent clauses. And this example right here on your screen was used as an example, and there were several other incorrect examples listed for Rule 8. So I saw this several times, and because I saw it several times, I want to do one whole group review on this particular rule. So on your screen, you see a quote from Edgar Allan Poe. I did not cite it, my apologies, but I did use quotation marks, and I'm citing it out loud, so we're going to let that one slide. It says, "There was no door, no window, and no light or fire burned. Yet a river of light flowed through it, filling it with a horrible, ghastly brightness." So this was used as an example of using a conjunctive adverb between two independent clauses with a semicolon. The problem is there is not one single conjunctive adverb in this sentence. Not one. And there are semicolons that are used with coordinating conjunctions. And you don't use, Bella, hush. You don't use semicolons with coordinating conjunctions. So grammatically, this sentence is incorrect. Sorry, Edgar Allan Poe. You're a mad scientist, but your grammar is a little bit off here. So unfortunately, that's an incorrect example. So we're going to go through how to do this correctly. And this is all review, but it's something that several people listed incorrectly in your grammar notebooks, and a few people are still getting wrong on grammar quizzes. So we're going to go over this one more time. First of all, semicolons are basically periods. Semicolons do two things. One, they function as a soft period. Two, they function as a comma when there are already commas within items with items in a series, but we're going to ignore that one for right now. The main one we're focusing on right now is that semicolons join two related independent clauses, which are sentences. And when you see a semicolon and a period on a test like EOC or ACT, and that is the only difference in two answer choices, then neither one of them can be correct because they do the same job. That's an ACT tip for you for next year. So semicolon rule number 1, you pretty much do consistently correctly. Use a semicolon to join two related independent clauses. You see that in the example here. The test was challenging. That's an independent clause. Many students needed extra time. That is also an independent clause. Rule number 2 is the one that I wanted to talk about. It was rule number 8 in your grammar notebook. Don't fuss at my numbers. I'm not a number person. I'm a literature person. So also I borrowed some of these slides from my English 3 slide deck for ACT review. But anyway, rule number 2 is do not use a semicolon with a conjunction. Your coordinating conjunctions are your fanboys, for and nor, but or yet so. So you do not use conjunctions with those. I would say pretty much never, especially like on a test like EOC and especially ACT. You don't do a semicolon and an and, a semicolon and a but, a semicolon and a so. You use a comma with those. So semicolons don't play well with conjunctions. They don't play well with coordinating conjunctions. Those are your fanboys. They don't play well with subordinating conjunctions. You don't do a semicolon with a because or a semicolon with an although. If you see a semicolon plus a conjunction, eliminate it as an answer choice immediately if you're on a grammar quiz, if you're on EOC, or if you're on ACT. So let's look at this example. The storm was intense, so we stayed inside. So it might be tempting to look at that and say, okay, you have two independent clauses, let's do a semicolon. But that's not correct because the word so is a conjunction. It is not a conjunctive adverb. Your conjunctive adverbs are themos, therefore, however, also, moreover, otherwise, similarly. Those are the most common conjunctive adverbs. If it's a fanboy, you're definitely not going to use a semicolon with it. You're going to use a comma. These are ACT tips that I give my juniors, and one thing that sophomores have told me in the past is they want more ACT oriented review. So here's some ACT for you. If a period would work, a semicolon would work. If it wouldn't make sense to put a period and then a so, then you wouldn't put a semicolon and then a so. If a semicolon and a period are both answer choices on a multiple choice test and nothing else about the answer choice is different, then neither one of those can be correct. They do the same thing. And finally, do not use a semicolon with a fanboy to join two independent clauses. Use commas with fanboys to join independent clauses. Use semicolons with conjunctive adverbs to join independent clauses. Let's look at some practice questions. I spotted a dragonfly in the cave I entered. I knew its fate. It would be ensnared. Now, when you look at these answer choices, you should immediately eliminate choice B. The reason is because you have a semicolon and a fanboy. That's immediately wrong. And what you can do here, since there is no other semicolon option and there's no period, is you can use a colon there to separate those independent clauses. So C would be your answer. If you're listening right now, and I'm asking you the question on the screen, and I'm asking you to give the answer, don't type C. I want you to type to be or not to be. Because if you type C right now for the question, then I'm going to know you didn't answer or didn't listen to my video. Okay, let's look at this next question. To form the Model Tree's bent trunk, the architect stacked layers of shorter pipes onto a spiral axis. Layers of longer pipes form the top of the tree. You have two independent clauses. The first one ends with axis. The second one starts with layers. So you have a comma between two sentences. Obviously, you can't do that. That's a comma splice. So you can't choose that as an option. But what you can do to separate those independent clauses is put a semicolon before them or between them. So D would be the correct answer. If you're listening right now, I want you to put method in the madness for the answer. If you put D, I'm going to know you didn't actually listen to my video. For question number 3, I want you to just look at the answer choices. There is one that you should immediately eliminate. And when I ask this question on the screen, I want you to put the letter of the letter of the answer choice that you should immediately eliminate, not the correct answer, the one you should immediately eliminate because you have a semicolon with a conjunction. And that's all the video. Thanks for listening, and I hope this makes sense. I hope it clears things up a little bit for you. If you have questions about this, let me know. You will have a grammar quiz on Friday, and I wouldn't be surprised to find some answer choices like these on the quiz. See you soon.